Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me. What you're about to hear isn't just a story. It's a journey, one forged in the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains, steeped in the legacy of family, and ultimately, a testament to what you can achieve when someone tries to steal your dream. So settle in, perhaps grab a glass of something crisp and real, and let me tell you about how I took back what was mine. My hands still smell faintly of apples and yeast, even now. It's a scent I associate with everything good in my life. The crisp autumn mornings on Grandpa Joe's orchard, the hum of fermentation in the old barn I lovingly converted, the laughter echoing through Blue Ridge Brewing Co. It's also the scent that reminds me of Jake, my brother, the man who tried to rip it all away. Before the bitterness, before the betrayal, there was only the dream. Growing up on our grandparents' sprawling apple orchard outside Asheville, North Carolina, I was always the one with dirt under my fingernails and a wild idea brewing. While other kids played with dolls, I was experimenting with forgotten fruit presses, fascinated by the alchemy of fermentation. Grandpa Joe, bless his heart, saw it in me. He'd let me help him with the cider, teaching me the nuances of different apple varieties, the importance of patience, and the magic that happened when nature and careful craft combined. Those lessons were the bedrock of Blue Ridge Brewing. When I was 25, fresh out of fermentation science school and brimming with ideas, I poured every ounce of my savings, every late-night brainstorm, and every calloused hand into transforming Grandpa Joe's dusty, disused barn into a microbrewery. It wasn't just a business. It was a living, breathing extension of our family's legacy. We started small, with a few award-winning hard ciders, the kind that tasted like liquid autumn, and some adventurous seasonal ales. People loved them. They loved the story, the farm-to-glass ethos, the taste of genuine craft. Blue Ridge Brewing Co. became more than a local haunt, it became a destination. Jake, my older brother, was there from the beginning, or so I thought. He was always the charismatic one, the smooth talker. When I offered him 20% ownership, explaining that I believed family should grow the dream together, his eyes lit up. He embraced it, at least outwardly. He'd charm customers, schmooze with distributors, and always had a reassuring pat on my back. Monica, his wife, a former corporate lawyer with a sharp mind and an even sharper ambition, also seemed supportive. They were family, and in my world, family meant trust. Blue Ridge Brewing Co. flourished beyond my wildest expectations. Our Harvest Moon, hard cider, won gold at the Great American Beer Festival, and our Smoky Mountain Stout was featured in Craft Beer and Brewing magazine. We signed distribution deals with major grocery chains, first regionally with Harris Teeter and Food Lion, then expanding northwards into Kroger and Whole Foods. The hum of our fermenters was a lullaby, the clinking of bottles, a symphony. We were living the dream, or so I believed. The first hint of trouble wasn't a crack, but a subtle vibration, like a distant tremor. Orders from our biggest distributors started to dip, then fall. At first, I attributed it to market fluctuations, seasonality. But the drops were too steep, too sudden. Then whispers began. Customers at our tap room, usually bustling, mentioned seeing a new brand, Appalachian Pour, popping up on shelves. They were offering products suspiciously similar to ours, at prices that seemed impossible to match. Panic started to prickle at the edges of my calm. I launched my own quiet investigation, sending friends to various supermarkets, asking them to send photos. And there it was, Appalachian Pour. Their Ridge Runner hard cider, their Peak Performer IPA, not just similar, but almost identical in branding, flavor profiles, and even bottle design to our flagship products. My heart sank when I saw a promotional flyer proudly announcing their farm-to-glass heritage, complete with an image of a generic apple orchard that looked eerily like ours. The truth hit me with the force of a physical blow. Jake, it had to be Jake. I called an emergency meeting. Jake and Monica arrived, impeccably dressed, radiating an air of calm that instantly felt like a betrayal. When I laid out the evidence, the plummeting orders, the sudden appearance of Appalachian Pour, the uncanny resemblance of their products, Jake's face remained impassive. Monica, however, had a faint, almost imperceptible smirk playing on her lips. "What is this, Jake?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and fury. "What have you done?" He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. The man I had shared countless childhood memories with, the brother I had trusted with a piece of my dream, looked at me with eyes colder than any mountain stream. "Business is business, Em," he said, his voice flat, devoid of any warmth. "You wouldn't survive at scale anyway. This is about family legacy, and frankly, you were holding us back." "Family legacy?" I practically shrieked. "You stole my recipes, you forged my signature on contracts, you rerouted my distribution deals. This isn't legacy, Jake, it's grand theft." Monica finally spoke, her voice like polished steel. "Emily, we simply saw an opportunity. Your methods were, shall we say, quaint. We've streamlined, optimized. Appalachian Pour is the future." The true gut punch came when I reached out to our parents. I called them, my voice cracking, explaining the egregious fraud, the betrayal. I expected outrage, support, understanding. Instead, I got a hesitant silence, followed by my father's strained voice. "Emily," he said. "Jake explained it. He says he's securing the future, making sure the orchard, the name, becomes something truly big. He says you were too emotional about it." Too emotional. My own blood, my own parents, dazzled by Jake's glib promises of a family empire, had sided with him. That night, I didn't just feel betrayed. I felt utterly, completely alone. The following weeks were a blur of humiliation and despair. Local news outlets ran with headlines like, "Blue Ridge Brewing loses key deals to Appalachian Pour. Craft beer darling suffers major setback." Investors, wary of the suddenly volatile market and the ugly family feud, started pulling their funds. Friends, once my biggest cheerleaders, now whispered behind my back about how I was too naive for big business, that my farm-to-glass idealism couldn't compete with real-world cutthroat tactics. Jake, meanwhile, relished in his newfound success. He gave interviews, posing for photos with Monica, talking about saving the family brand and innovating for the next generation. He acted like a benevolent savior, while I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered dream, watching my beloved Blue Ridge Brewing Co. bleed out. The taproom, once a vibrant hub, felt hollow and empty. The silence of the fermenters, once a comfort, now felt like a eulogy. I felt broken, adrift in a sea of stolen dreams and public scorn. But beneath the surface of my despair, a spark began to glow, a cold, hard ember of resolve. I had poured my heart and soul into Blue Ridge. Grandpa Joe's legacy, my legacy, was not going to be extinguished by a thief. Jake had underestimated me. He saw emotion, but he didn't see the steel beneath it. He saw naivete, but he didn't see the quiet, tenacious spirit that had built something from nothing. I wasn't broken. I was merely in the crucible, being reforged. I disappeared. Not literally, of course, but from public view. For 9 long months, Emily Carter, the naive craft brewer, vanished. What people didn't know was that I wasn't licking my wounds. I was plotting. I was meticulously planning. I was forging a different kind of future. My first move was to quietly reach out to connections I had made over the years. I flew out to Sonoma County, California, to meet with Alina Vance, a legendary brewmaster known for her innovative ciders and her fiercely independent spirit. Alina, who had once praised our Harvest Moon cider, listened to my story with quiet intensity. She saw the passion in my eyes, the injustice in my tale. She agreed to partner with me on a new, exclusive small-batch cider line. This wasn't just any cider. This was Iron Orchard Reserve. We would use a rare, heirloom apple variety, the Granny Pearl, grown only on our grandparents' land, an apple whose seeds Grandpa Joe himself had carefully cultivated. This wasn't just a product, it was a defiant reclaiming of our true roots. Alina brought her unparalleled expertise, and together we created something truly extraordinary, a cider of incredible complexity, depth, and a story woven into every sip. This would be my secret weapon, a product so unique, so deeply tied to our genuine heritage, that it could never be replicated or stolen. While Alina and I were crafting liquid gold, I was also building my legal fortress. I hired a relentless forensic accountant and a private investigator, not just any PI, but one who specialized in corporate espionage. We painstakingly gathered every scrap of evidence, emails with suspiciously similar IP addresses, digital trails of altered documents, side-by-side comparisons of my original recipes and Jake's new ones. We had notarized samples of the stolen recipes, meticulously cataloged the trademark infringements, and tracked the convoluted paper trail of Appalachian Poor's shell company. It was a tedious, mind-numbing process, but every piece of evidence was a brick in the wall I was building, a wall that would ultimately collapse on Jake and Monica. Simultaneously, I was reimagining Blue Ridge Brewing Co.'s original taproom. If Jake wanted to play the mass-market game, fine. I would go in a different direction. I envisioned it as not just a place to drink, but an experience. We stripped away the industrial feel and leaned into the rustic charm of the old barn. I brought in local artisans to craft custom furniture, planted a vibrant herb garden for infusions, and built an outdoor stage for live music. We started hosting farm-to-table cider dinners featuring ingredients from local purveyors, pairing each course with a unique small-batch cider. We introduced VIP tasting experiences, offering exclusive peeks into our new experimental batches. The goal was to create a destination cidery, a sanctuary of authentic craft that couldn't be mass-produced or easily replicated. It became a haven for those who appreciated true artistry, not just a label on a bottle. The market buzzed with rumors about Jake and Monica. Appalachian Pour was growing at an astonishing rate, fueled by aggressive marketing and, unknowingly, my stolen intellectual property. They were poised for massive expansion. I knew my moment was coming. I waited patiently like a predator in the shadows, watching for the perfect time to strike. That moment arrived on a crisp autumn evening, precisely 9 months after I had disappeared. The news broke with a splash. Appalachian Pour announced a staggering $50 million venture capital funding round. Jake and Monica were everywhere, beaming from financial news channels, talking about their visionary leadership and the unprecedented growth of their brand. The air crackled with their triumphant arrogance. They had no idea what was coming. I struck like lightning. First, the legal bombshell. The very next morning, my legal team filed a federal trademark infringement and fraud lawsuit against Appalachian Pour, Jake Carter, and Monica Hayes, her maiden name, which she'd cleverly used in some of the shell company's filings. The evidence we presented was bulletproof. Emails, IP addresses, notarized comparisons of forged signatures, testimony from former distributors coerced into switching contracts. It was an undeniable mountain of proof that Jake and Monica had systematically stolen my company out from under me. The filing immediately sent shockwaves through the investment community and across the craft beverage industry. Next came the media blitz. We launched a short film, The Real Orchard, simultaneously across all major social media platforms. It wasn't slick or overly produced. It was raw, authentic, and emotionally resonant. The film opened with drone shots soaring over Grandpa Joe's apple orchard in the misty morning light, showing the gnarled, ancient trees, the very heart of our legacy. It then transitioned to old photos of me and Jake as kids, laughing in the orchard, followed by clips of me building Blue Ridge Brewing Co. from the ground up, my hands stained with apple juice, my face alight with passion. The narrator, my own voice, spoke of heritage, hard work, and the painful truth of betrayal. It ended with a close-up of an apple, a granny pearl, being gently picked, a symbol of resilience and genuine roots. The message was clear. You can steal a name, but you can't steal a legacy. It went viral within hours. And then, the business masterstroke. Just as the lawsuit hit the news and The Real Orchard film dominated social media feeds, we quietly launched Iron Orchard Reserve online. Exclusive, small batch, incredibly rare, and with a story that was now resonating with millions. We had built a dedicated e-commerce platform and a waiting list of thousands who had seen snippets of its creation on our revitalized Blue Ridge Brewing Co. social channels. The demand was unprecedented. In less than 3 hours, every single bottle of our inaugural Iron Orchard Reserve run was sold out. The online store crashed multiple times from the sheer volume of traffic. The press, initially focused on the lawsuit, quickly pivoted to the phenomenon of Iron Orchard Reserve. Bon Appetit ran a feature titled, "The Cider That Broke the Internet, A Story of Redemption and Roots." Forbes Food and Drink hailed it as the ultimate craft comeback story, praising its innovative flavor profile and its powerful narrative. It wasn't just a successful product launch, it was a cultural moment, a resounding affirmation of authenticity over deception. The aftermath was swift and brutal for Jake and Monica. The venture capitalists, faced with a federal fraud lawsuit and a massive public relations nightmare, immediately froze the $50 million funding round for Appalachian Poor. Their carefully constructed house of cards began to crumble. The federal court issued a preliminary injunction, forcing Jake's brand off shelves within weeks, due as the evidence of trademark infringement and fraud was overwhelming. Distributors, eager to avoid being associated with a legal scandal, and now seeing the overwhelming demand for Iron Orchard Reserve, swiftly switched back to Blue Ridge, sometimes even asking for expanded contracts. The consequences for Monica were equally dire. The fraud charges initiated an investigation into her law license, threatening to disbar her permanently. Her legal career, which she had wielded as a weapon, now became her downfall. And my parents, they called hesitantly at first. My mother's voice was tearful, my father's filled with a remorse I had never heard before. They apologized truly deeply for not believing me, for being swayed by Jake's empty promises. It wasn't a moment of triumph for me, but of quiet sadness. The family tapestry had been torn, and while I had won, the scars remained. I never gloated. There was no need. My actions spoke louder than any words. When asked for a statement by the media, I offered only this: true craft can't be stolen. It grows where roots run deep. And it does. Blue Ridge Brewing Co. isn't just thriving. It's stronger, more resilient, and more rooted than ever. We've expanded our cidery experience, created new experimental batches, and continued to champion genuine farm-to-glass production. Iron Orchard Reserve has become a cult classic, a symbol of what happens when integrity triumphs over greed. This story isn't just about revenge. It's about resilience. It's about standing firm in your truth, protecting your passion, and understanding that true success isn't built on lies, but on genuine craft, deep roots, and unwavering belief in yourself. It's about learning that sometimes the quietest moves make the loudest statements. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to never give up on your dreams, no matter who tries to steal them. If you enjoyed this, please consider liking this video, subscribing to our channel for more stories of craft and resilience, and leaving a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.